good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on where you are in the world. Welcome to this new session of Inspiring Conversation, where we talk with people, and it's all about creating conversations that really matter. We are diving into ways to connect deeply, break down barriers, and build moments that inspire trust and growth. Whether it's with your team, at work, or in your everyday chats, we will bring more positivity, realness, and impact into every conversation. And if you take as much as this from these sessions, then I'm happy and my guests are happy. And speaking of which, I am still in Snæfellsnes Peninsula, and this is really my scene out of this window where I sit. This is the Kirkjufell mountain, and you can see that in Game of Thrones season 5. And the guy who made the artwork in front of the picture is called Liston. But enough of Grundarfjörður and Snæfellsnes Peninsula and Iceland. My guest today is an author, a like as exciting woman. Um, and she wrote the book, You're It. And the book is a transformative guide for anyone ready to rediscover what makes them truly unique. Through her personal journey from childhood stages to years of silence and back to purpose through faith, she invites us to reclaim our it factor. So, as she says, tag your it, and I would love to welcome Tameka F.U.N. Anderson.
Hey.
Welcome, Tameka. Was this a good intro?
That was a great intro. Thank you.
Are you elevated? And now we can say thank you very much. This was the good session.
Absolutely. Have a great day.
Yeah. So welcome. You are it. So
Yes.
I will tag you into speaking for a second. So, who is Tameka Anderson and why did we connect? Like, why is it that I found you to be a great match for this conversation? Give us a little bit. Give us something, something. Be
A little,
positive.
a little something, something, huh? Okay.
Yes, yes.
So I started my journey as a nanny. I was a nanny for many years. I worked with professional families and I absolutely love children. So, one of the things that I realized in working with children is that no matter who they were, what their background was, there was one thing that really brought all of them together. So, as I'm doing all of these cool things, I'm realizing that I really love working with not just children, but I like working with people, especially leaders, because it takes leaders to lead other leaders, right? And so, I was trying to find myself all throughout this process. And what I realized is that when I was working with my clients, I asked them, hey, what's one word you would use to describe me? And everybody would say fun. I was like, huh. Me being a writer, I wanted to use the acronym of fun. And so that's literally what I help leaders, especially, do find unmet needs. So I think that you brought me on because I like to have fun. Pun.
Oh, yes. Yes. And because when we met like some months back and we talked and I think instantly we just started laughing, and then we had so much fun for the short amount of time. We was just like laughing, and the positivity that just when you just know when you meet people and you feel everything is so right. And I'm just like, yeah, So this I sensed I was just like this would be a great conversation.
Yes.
So we have some guests already. They are on LinkedIn and commenting, and I urge people if they are watching also because you connected your LinkedIn, no, you connected your YouTube
Yes.
uh, channel. So like by all means, take part, comment, and say something. Like just give us a heads up where you are or something. But you can comment on LinkedIn and participate in this conversation or wherever you like we are. And
Right.
already we have three guys who were started. They are like avid followers. So we have David Pushkin. He is in the UK,
Oh,
and
nice.
he is always looking for a good chat. And he is a well, he calls me a wise guy, but I don't know. Well, he is a wise guy.
You're a wise
Then we have Rab Bassi, and he says he's already inspired. So we can quit now.
Gotta keep going. Oh, the
We
pressure.
And then we have Rich Gasson. I met him through connection through LinkedIn and whatnot, and he has an awesome story. He's a cancer survivor, and he's just like always, always. I would love you to meet because he is just fabulous.
Nice.
So, but enough of that. Should we go and dive into because as I am a social educator myself, so I have been working in kindergarten, I have been working in with youth in youth clubs, and I have been working with the mentally challenged and whatnot. And what inspired me about your website and like what you write and the F.U.N. because it's not fun in the sense of the word, but you
Yeah.
use it as to implement some good stuff. And we are going to talk about leadership lessons from the playground. Or, yes, like, okay, I say that what kids teach us about life, and I know that you look back and you take lessons from them. But
Mhm.
isn't it just life itself? Like, you can't read a book and then just oh, it says on page 40 that I have to be nice to a person. Oh, yeah, I have to be nice to you.
Yeah. But
So what? Yeah. So just like how are we going to address this? Because this is just how like my mind was just like, okay, how does the leaders take this? Like, are they just like, oh, don't you think I have learned enough? I got my degree.
right. Well, the funny part is it's so unfortunate. A lot of people they can go through life and still not learn the lessons. It will take a long time and some people unfortunately will leave this earth and still not learn the lessons. But what I've noticed is the leaders who are curious and the ones who want to actually evolve and grow, those are the ones that I can most help because it takes a bit of humility to say, hey, I have a blind spot because we all do. We all have
Yeah.
blind spots, but it takes humility to be okay with, I have a blind spot. It doesn't mean that there's something wrong with me. I just need someone who is looking from the outside in and can help me hit that blind spot. So that's what I've noticed about like leaders and working with them.
But how do you find them? Because when I'm an avid like I am working with happiness at work and whenever or well-being, there are so many things that we are supposed to work with as leaders or as a team leader and whatnot. And when you approach them with, well, you have your dots in the fun, so that must be like that in itself is curious enough that you would say why are the dots between F and U? Like, what's happening? So how, when you approach them, when do they, because there is so much out there, there is so much stuff out there, and they sometimes people are just like, I learned this in business school, but they didn't learn how to manage people in a sense. So
Yeah.
how would you describe that when you walk or when people notice you or leaders, where are they at in the process? Are they running a 10-person company or like 10 employees, or are they running 100 people company, or like what? Who are the types? Who are they? Are they at the way's end, or are they just like seeking and they want to experiment? And so,
Yeah.
what's your take on that?
Yeah. So, such a great question. Usually, the ones who are leading a team of at least 10 or more, and they are sinking. They are literally, the morale is very low. Um, the employee turnover is very high, and they cannot do their jobs properly because now they're stepping in trying to do others' work because now people don't want to come to work. And the thing is, they don't like the environment, and so it is. It usually is really, really bad by the time I'm, on the scene. And I'm always just, it's always a conversation. I cannot tell you how many times I've met clients, potential clients, just out and about. And I love people. So I just have conversations. I'll smile and I may even give a compliment or something. And then, I listen, people are talking, and then I am just like, oh, okay, well, that's interesting that you do that. So I ask questions and I keep asking questions, so much so till they start to say, hey, wait a minute. What I think you can help me. And so that's literally how it works.
And they don't find it intimidating, or are they just at the like are they just at the like they know that they have to do something, but isn't the damage already done? Or like how is it when you say that you walk in and you can just sense, oh, this is bad.
Hmm.
Like what do you say to them? Like, well, Tamika is in the house.
So I always say I lead with love. Okay.
Yeah.
So when you lead with love, there is a sense of calmness and curiosity. And so I'm not judging. I'm here just holding the space for whatever it is that's there. And then I'm merely just, bringing awareness to, hey, this can be better in this way. So I believe that because I lead that way, it's really helpful for my clients and they don't feel judged. I've had clients tell me before, like, oh my God, I thought I was gonna be like so tense, but I'm so glad that you just really kind of helped me bring it down a little bit. And I said, yeah, it doesn't make sense. It's gonna make my job harder and your job harder if I come in like, you gotta do this. Doesn't make sense.
Nope.
So the whole goal is to build trust. And in building trust, I understand that I'm here and I'm being present, right? That's one of the main things that I talk to leaders about is, I have a 3P process. Presence is the first P in the 3P process. And me being present helps them to kind of like unload. If you think about it, you have like a backpack and you have a whole bunch of stuff in your backpack.
Oh
So
yeah.
I'm coming on the scene and I'm just like, hey, let's take this out. All right, let's just put this down. So we're not judging it. We're just merely saying, oh, you have a hammer. Oh, you have a notebook. So we're just taking all of the stuff out of the backpack and laying it down so that we can be more present with it to say, okay, we need this, we do not need this. And so I believe that because of that, that's how I'm able to kind of get, really get to them.
So when you wrote this book, was it this year that you published
Yes.
it.
Yes.
So what is like how have you done more writing or is this your first book?
No, that's not my first book. Not at all.
Oh
Uh,
my!
so
You are really a diamond in the rough. Like, where did I find you? This is great. What was your first book then?
so my first book, it was actually like a little memoir, if you will. And it was called, shoot, what was the name of Moment of Clarity. It was just yeah, I was just trying to get out there. So that was the first book.
So, memoir, and you don't look older than 29, like me. Like
What?
we are the same
I have a
age.
29-year-old daughter. I have a 29-year-old daughter. She's 29 this year. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later. But like, how do you write your memoir when you are just so young?
Listen, just one of those things. I was getting out of a divorce. It was just I was trying to find myself. Okay, that's all I
Ah,
got. I was trying to find myself.
ah.
But then I wrote my first leadership book called The Confident Leader, and then I wrote my parenting book, which is Parenting the Confident Child. So yeah, this would be book number 4.
All right, but I love the title, like you're it, and
It.
what it says on the book front, like finding your it factor, so you can cultivate, curate, and communicate it to the world of purpose. Because it seems like are leaders confused, or like the people that are working, they are confused. Like, what is your opinion? Because in the world of working with kids, you
Mm,
are trying to inspire them to be true to themselves, and you are inspiring them to be good human beings. They have to do this and that, but my norms are not yours. Like, maybe okay, we have the same, okay, be good and nice to each other, but your norms, your values, your parents, they have brought you up in a sense, like in this way, whereas my parents, they bring me up in that direction.
mhm.
And then they go through all the puberty and like, oh, I need to have these jeans on, and I need to have this dress on because all the rest of the TikTok stars, they say. And so how can we, like, how difficult is it, and how is it to say to leaders, break the form, do stuff that you like, do stuff how you think, not what the others think.
Yeah, that's such a great question because that's honestly why I wrote the book, because I recognized a pattern that
Yeah.
yes, they're leading in title. However, in behavior, they are very much following. Like there's this unspoken rule of how leaders, are supposed to behave. And they think that, oh, we're just supposed to rule with an iron fist. And even so much so with calling people managers. Like, I don't believe another human can manage another human. I just don't believe it. I don't care if you are a parent or you lead a team. You should not manage other people. Lead, yes. Manage, not so much. Because if you're managing another person, you have a lot of responsibility, and that's a lot of reason why a lot of leaders find themselves stressed out, overworked, burnt out, is because they're trying to manage another human. We can barely manage ourselves. So why are we trying to manage somebody else, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so what I do is I talk about the gap, right? Where you know this is who we think we are, this is who we think the world and society wants us to be. And so in that gap, that's where imposter syndrome happens. And so I help leaders close the gap. I don't care, and stop focusing on who they think societies, want them to be. Be who you are. Unless you're a terrible human. However, I
Yeah.
digress.
Yeah.
But, just really closing the gap and finding their personal it factor in a way that helps them to stand out, and they don't have to compete with another person to say, oh well, I need to compete with this person. We if you are really true to who you are, you have no competition, because there's no one in the world that will ever be like you. Even if you were born as an identical twin, we all have different fingerprints. And so, because of that reason alone, getting out of the idea of, okay, well, I need to watch what my competition is doing. No, when you know your ed factor, you know you have no competition. It is one of one. And so now you're focused on that. You can show up fully as yourself, and everybody's life around you becomes so much better. So that's usually what I do.
So, as Rabasi, he asks, so is the IT factor about tagging your team to take responsibility or accountability, or we are? I have been talking to many great people, and one of the guys who I talked to, we were talking about accountability.
Mhm.
You have to own it because you can't just live life like, oh, somebody else will do it, or like you are what you are, and you have to take responsibility for yourself. And
Yes.
there, as when you are at work,
Mhm.
you have your norms and principles and values, and but you have to just own it.
Yes.
So how do you, so is that an accurate like understanding from rap, that you are the it factor is just to take responsibility, or what do you say about that?
So your it factor, in a sense, is your personal responsibility. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so what I've learned is, when you take ownership of who you are, you take responsibility of who you are, everyone around you would do the same, or else they will not be in alignment with you. That's another thing too that a lot of leaders have to understand. The moment you own who you are, your it factor, everyone else around you will do the same. And those who are unwilling, right, to own who they are, they will either leave, or you will say goodbye, thank you, goodbye. But that is what leaders are so afraid to really do that. But that's the only way that you can have a cohesive team and have everyone in the team owning their stuff. Because obviously leaders go first. So the leaders are showing, hey, this is what this looks like. Because I remember myself, I had to let go one of my assistants. And that it was because it I noticed that the work wasn't coming in when it needed to. I was checking up about things, and I have a personal rule to myself. I know my work ethic. Anyone who works around me must also have the same. And so the moment I see that it is not the same, then we have a conversation. And I'm not going to try to force that person to have the same work ethic as me. I'm just going to, do us both a favor and say, hey, thank you. You will be better suited somewhere else because we're not in alignment. And if leaders would do that more often, life would be so much better, you know? But that's part of the ownership and responsibility as well, too.
Mhm. And that is interesting aspect, because are we good at it? Because I have talked to so many people, and you get into college and you get into university and you get your degree, and then you are like shanghaied into a workplace where, oh yes, you will do this and this and this, and then after 3 months you are, oh yeah, it will always, it's almost there, you will be, and then after a year you are just like, I'm definitely not working with anything of interest or what I am interested in. So
Mhm.
are we, is it because we are too general, or how would we, because it's not easy just to get a job and then just after a while to say, okay, this is definitely not me. Thank you. I'm leaving.
Yeah. Well, I mean that I think, and I actually told my oldest daughter about this very conversation that we're having too. But I think it is that simple to do that, right? A lot of people aren't willing to lean into the discomfort that it causes because it is easy to do that. It's just there is some discomfort there. Where will I go? What would I do? What happens now? But I actually did it, so I know that it is possible. You just have to lean into the discomfort of what you're feeling and the identity crisis, right? That happens in that process.
Yeah. David Pushkin, he mentions like purpose and your why are the guiding light. Like you have to, and it's a great quote, like great thing to say. But it is when you're finding yourself, because now I also have young kids like 24. You mentioned your daughter 29, and you are trying to give them a sense of meaning and trying, but there is somewhat like you can't teach them everything. They have to walk into the wall and into the glass ceiling and whatnot. Like there are gender, blah, blah, blah. There are so many things. But this thing of, because nowadays, like I worked for Reykjavik Council for 12 years.
Mhm.
When I was growing up, people worked for the same company for 30 years, 40 years. Now it's just like 3, 5 years and they are gone.
Yeah.
But like, where is it? Is it good? Is it bad? Because I see it as you are still evolving as a human being,
Hmm.
because you are looking like you are always challenging yourself. And,
Yeah.
and, and maybe we should be better at it to try to say, you know, well, now you have been here for X amount of years. Now we think that you should try something else. You have to evolve. We have given you everything that we can. So that is also a big question in our life, isn't it? It's just how can we teach people to move forward? Of course, we would love to have them, but we have to realize: are we holding them back?
Hmm.
How can we push them forward and take also responsibility in that sense? But you say on your website, and or yes, I think it was your website. They
Hmm.
call me the fun.
Hmm.
F.U.N. dot. So they call me the fun coach because I help communities find unmet needs.
Hmm.
So what is it that you are finding, and why is it like why do they have to have Tamika to come in and say, "Ooh, we have some unmet needs in here, and I will help you find them"?
Yeah. So it's always behavioral. Always.
Ah,
If I'm on the scene, there is some sort of disruptive behavior.
just like in kindergarten.
I'm just saying. And so that's the reason why it's finding unmet needs, because what happens is I understand that all behavior is communication,
Yeah,
right? So what I'm doing is I am merely helping them move from using a very extreme behavior to communicate something towards actually using words and having conversations. So instead of being passive aggressive with your supervisor because you're at home and you're trying to relax and now you got an email, instead of doing that, we can say, hey, listen, I am offline once I am off work, period.
yeah,
Now, what I've learned is in what they are now coining toxic work culture is they expect you to be on 24 hours a day. And that's not what we were ever designed to do. So then we have to have a conversation with the leadership to say, why is this an expectation? Because if we are really skilling our employees up, they should never have to work this much. Like, I'm just saying, like, we
Yeah.
have to learn how to, increase skills in our employees so that we decrease stress and high turnover rates and the workplace toxic culture and all of those things. So, that's the reason why they call me the fun. But it's also because I teach them from a child's perspective. Because remember, I told you I worked with children for so long. I recognize one thing that children do very, very well that us adults can learn. They are so curious. They're I well, even now, my favorite question is why? Why?
Yeah.
Why is this happening? Well, why does that? Well, what happened then? And so I will continue. And I used to get in trouble a lot when I was little for asking why. I don't know why. I don't know why adults find it disrespectful when a child is asking why. I
Yeah.
I I love to learn. So I was like, okay, well, one of the things they used to tell me often, oh, well, don't don't leave the door open. I'm like, well, why? And it wasn't because I was trying to be disrespectful, which I never understood why they call it disrespect. However, I digress. But I was asking why because I wanted them, I didn't know this then, but I wanted them to learn how to communicate a message effectively. Because, and this is what I teach my daughter for my grandson, don't just stop at, don't leave the door open. Finish the sentence, finish the thought. Why don't you want me to leave the door open? Well, if you leave the door open, all kinds of flies are going to get in here. Then you're not going to want to have to deal with that. And someone else could just walk in our house. So, really leaning into teaching people how to finish the thought so that there's no pulling. It's like pulling teeth, like, well, why? Well, what do I have to do? It took me maybe like 30 minutes when I sat down with this one leader and she was telling me, "Oh, I'm so disorganized. My team are so mad at me. I missed a meeting one day because I had something else on my calendar. Can you help me?" Okay. And so as we sit down, I'm like, "All right, you have your whiteboard. Just walk me through your process of what a day looks like." And so she's saying all of this stuff and doing all of these things, and it took 30 minutes for her to get the thought out, right? And so I merely said, because I set the timer, I said, it took us 30 minutes to get to this. I said, do you understand how much time you are probably wasting every single day if it took 30 minutes for you to explain to me what's wrong? And she's like, oh, I never thought about it like that. Yes. So this is why learning how to finish a thought, even if you have to doodle whatever it is you need to do, finish a thought before you bring it to your team. Because if you're bringing something to your team and they're not going to be as patient as I am following your line of reasoning till you finally land there. And I had to keep prodding, okay, well, let's stick with this for right now. And so you're all over the place. So just learning how to increase communication skills is one of the most important things leaders can learn. And if they learn it from a child, because a child will ask you questions. And if we learn how to not see it as disrespect and see it as they're just trying to really understand in their brain, life would be so much better for everybody.
Yeah, and when you look at a child, child is naturally curious because it wants to learn. That is the way you learn.
Yeah.
You don't like so many parents when the kids is going to put the hand on the stove and they scream and yell and no, and then you have like this anxiety about because you scream and yell instead of taking the hand gently from it and say the reason for you are not like or what or how you explain it, because there are always, I'm not saying that you should not say no to your child. Of course
Right.
you don't want the child to be hurt or whatever, but you have to say when you do this,
Hmm.
you can break a finger, you can burn yourself, la 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 la, and you don't want that. Or like when you say these things, then you hurt me because I'm not la la la. There are so many aspects to this upbringing. But
Yeah.
how is it? Because Ram Bassi, he is a great thinker. He is asking when like how do you think leaders have adapted to remote working? Is it a challenge for the leader or for the employee?
Yeah.
Like because why is it that like after COVID, like when everything like you people they were not so stressed, they were relaxed, they made the job, like they did their job in 6 hours or 8 hours, no distraction, nobody like, and
Right.
then all of a sudden when that was finished, then the need, whose need was it that you had to be in the company?
Right.
Was it to be like busy? Like, oh, we are so busy. Like, have you had these kinds of discussions with the companies that you're working with? And where comes this? Is it a fear or is like what is it?
Absolutely, it's a fear. Um, what I've noticed is the leaders who are, really, really a stickler for no, back in the office, we gotta do this. They are the ones afraid that they're paying people to pretty much do other things other than work. And so, because of the fear, the behavior has turned into like controlling. And so, one thing that I realize is that you can't try to control another person. And so you're always going to have this friction. You have the person, the remote worker who's like, "Hey, I work best in this environment. I've been doing my job. Things have been great, but now you're forcing me to come back." And it's like, "Why? If I'm able to do this without being in the office, why are you forcing me back?" And it, to me, what I've noticed, it is a fear, and I've even said this to one of the leaders. I said, "I'm noticing that you give a lot of busy work." If you should have seen the look on her face, like when I said that, she was like, "Wait, what?" Yes, you give a lot of busy work. And it's like, what's the reasoning behind that? And so, like I said, I if I dig deep and keep going, it's always there's a fear. Oh, well, I don't want people, I'm not paying people to not work. And I'm like, oh, there it is. There's the fear. Whereas me, on the other hand, I'm the type of employer where as long as you get the job done, I am very results oriented. I
Yeah.
literally told my staff, I don't care how many hours it takes for you to do this. If you can do all of this in 1 hour and you still get paid for 8, bravo. You earned that, right? Because it's not about that for me. I want everybody to, if the people you lead enjoy what they do, enjoy showing up, enjoy working with you, you won't ever have to worry about that. Like I have people who are still working with me since I first started my business in 2010. And they still here. They couldn't dream of being anywhere else. And I was broke when I first started. I was like, listen, I can barely afford to pay. So a lot of people think that it people are looking for money. No, they're looking for a sense of purpose. I think someone said purpose. They're looking for that because that's something that that's a conversation I have with everyone who works with me. I ask them, what are you passionate about? What do you absolutely love to do? And why do you love to do that? Because I want to know what it is that lights you up. Because that's the department that I want you to be in. It doesn't make sense to me or anybody else around me for me to have to push, pull people to get them to work. That is taking too much time, energy, and money. So why not allow people to be where they flourish? And even I'm also the person you talked about this earlier, but I believe that if you need to evolve and grow and go somewhere else and spread your wings and fly, I am all for that too, you know, because it doesn't make sense for me to try to keep you here. And it's literally probably costing both of us more time, energy, and money for you to stay here versus you saying, hey, listen, I really learned a lot being here. I think my time is up. If more employers would embrace that, they're so afraid, oh, it's going to cost me more money to hire someone else. No, it's costing you more money to keep that person who don't want to be there.
Yeah,
they
because their mind is already gone. Like
Yeah,
they are somewhere else because they want something else. They have
absolutely.
so
And they're doing subpar work.
yeah,
So if they're doing subpar work, you're going to feel that on the back end for sure.
yeah.
I would rather someone say, because I like the very first day that I hire anybody, I said, listen, I am not the person who wants you to be here forever. I understand. You know, you have other things you want to do, other goals in life. I'm all for it. The moment this environment no longer serves a purpose for you to grow and evolve as a human, please come tell me so we can find somebody else. And like I said, if more leaders would adopt that model and principle, life would be so much better in the office for them.
Rapashi is giving David Pushkin a shout out. Like he's totally agreeing with him that without purpose you are not traveling forward. You are just shuffling along without direction, and that is so many. That's so true. So many people, so many young people, they are just well, they adopt very early to. I live by the day to day, the day by day principle that it's horrible, and they well, I remember I was not in the mood of thinking about where I would be at 20 in 6 months, in 1 year, or 5 years. Or you just took the path that was like everybody did.
Mhm.
And then when people who have had this passion, like some people, they just know they are going to be a doctor and they just persist, like they just follow that path and then they become doctor. And then, and it's when you think about it, it takes them 35 years to like be when they have to have the everything qualified. Like,
Yeah.
but man, they are great, like because they can do stuff that is unbelievable. And I applaud that. But and I think, are we bad? Do you think when you encounter the leaders, do you sense that they are? Do they have a vision? Do they know? Do they know? Do they tell the people, the employees, this is what we stand for. This is what we're doing. Uh, like our vision is, and then we will revive it after 10 years, 5 years, how long like do you talk about vision? Where are you going? What route are you taking?
Yeah.
Because you mentioned it before, like
Mhm.
some people, they are just like, oh, everybody else is doing it,
Mhm.
why not we? So
Yeah.
are you do you push them to take another direction than them, and just like, have you ever thought about going to this side, or like
Yes.
doing
Well,
this, or flip it on the head?
one of the things that I notice a lot is most companies, they only tell the vision uh, when they're when the employer is in orientation.
Yeah.
More often than not, most employees do not know the vision for their company. More often than not, they just don't. So
Uh,
one of the things that I love to implement are having monthly vision sessions. Since you like to have what do you call the meetings all the times? One of the meetings need to be about the vision. Hey, this is These are our values. Every single month we're going to have a conversation about this. And when we have a conversation about it, we're strictly going to say, here's where I am as it relates to this mission. I am either in alignment with it or I am not. And so the conversation is, here's the vision, here's where we are. What are your thoughts about it? But again, it goes back to fear. A lot of leaders are very afraid to give voice to those in their company, which it's really bad for them because without a voice, people are not passionate. They don't have a reason, like they were saying, they're just shuffling along. Think about it. That's what they're doing at the job. That's why there's so many people that are just so dissatisfied with their work. They're just there. Oh, this is just a paycheck. I don't want anyone working for me thinking that this is just a paycheck. Because guess what? They're bringing that energy with them. So a lot of leaders would do well just becoming more curious, kind of like a kid. Hey, so why do you like working here? you know, and asking that question. I don't think they want to know the answer because they know a lot of people won't like to work there. But I'm telling you, that's the best question you can ever ask your employees is, why do you like working here? And if they say, I don't like working here, keep having the conversation with them. Okay, why not? What's happening? What do you need? What? And it's not about your conforming to people because a lot of leaders get so, oh, what if I do that? No, no, no. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is everyone that's working in your company should have and feel like their voice matters. If they do not, their behavior is going to reflect as such. So you could either deal with it on the front end and get in front of it and really just do what you need to do, or it's going to show up in the back end. You're going to be pulling teeth to get people to do their job, or you're going to be fighting the friction for them to, do whatever you need to do. Is going to be a lot of passive aggression. Yeah, who wants to deal with that? Because I don't. So,
Well, I will give you hallelujah for that, and I will raise you with a wave. Very wise words. But let's talk, because when we are talking about vision and we are talking about some words or wisdom, like you have something on the mural on your wall, three
mhm.
L's. Let's have them. Like you are like what are your principles in life? Like
Live,
when you
laugh, love.
live, laugh, love. And if companies would have only like a meeting about this every month, are you living your life? Are you laughing in life? And are you loving in life?
That's what I'm
Isn't
saying.
it? It doesn't take matter. Like you can have some words and then you can just, where are we at? Where are you? Or how is life? Like don't talk, like show interest in the person.
Yeah.
Well, as I mentioned before, no, before we started this conversation, time flies when you're having fun, and we only have 10 minutes left. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Uh, you, I noticed that you start, well, when you're talking about yourself. You say, "I'm an artist," and you say, "I love this." When I step on stage, I'm the Picasso of words. Like
Yes.
This could sound a little bit arrogant, but like, why is it that why are you just brought up that way? Like, do you why? Because you say, I choose wisely my words.
hmm
What, like, is that from your parents, or is this by necessity, or like what happened? So because I love this. Like, if you are a storyteller, as you mentioned,
hmm
a storyteller, you are a storyteller.
Yes.
And, and of course, when you are saying, and if you say it in this sense that people start thinking about, as you mentioned, like they start to paint a picture, and then, oh yes, this is, oh, and then they like, and it's just how, and of course, you mentioned also that you shall not use your powers for evil,
Right.
because that is not the intent.
Hmm.
You are not out there to hurt people. You are out there to find the diamonds in the rough
Yes.
and let people stay on that path. Like once upon a time, your world was your oyster, isn't it? You
Hmm.
could do what, and you thought you could do whatever. Why are you not doing whatever?
Right. But
So,
you
yeah, sorry.
So I want to say this, like, because you kind of ask, like, the question, oh, is that arrogance? And that's honestly one of the saddest things in the world is because we've been conditioned
Yeah.
to not step in who we are, right? And the moment someone does, like myself, it's kind of seen as, oh, well, why do you do that? This is who I am. I am. When I step on a stage as a storyteller, that's actually a storyteller's creed that I created for my storytelling summer camp, by the way. And but it's true. Words are extremely powerful. So, what I learned in learning how to effectively communicate is that we are wired for stories as humans. So, I always share a story or an anecdote or something like that with people, and it creates this picture in their mind so that they can relate, and it brings them to the story, and they're just like they see themselves in the story, right? That's the best way that you can actually teach someone anything, is to help bring them into the story. So I know this about myself. This is my it factor, and so, because this is my it factor, I own it. Right? And so, in owning it, this is what a lot of leaders will do well, to own what that it is. Okay. Right? You may be someone who's very strategic. So, in owning that it, you can say, oh, I love to sit and just strategize about things. Does that make you arrogant for saying this is who you are? No. It makes you confident to say, hey, this, I like this. This is me. Like, this is what really, really brings the joy out in me. I don't think enough people know how to do that and own that. We can see that just from what's going on in the world. And it's just like, people are sad, people are trying to control other people, they're trying to harm others, because when you feel good about yourself, you're not trying to harm other people.
Mm,
Say
no.
it there.
Yeah.
You don't have
Yeah.
to use your words to harm other people. So,
Or how is it? Because there is something else here. But like you say, audiences not only remember me, they ruminate over every word they hear. Then they are inspired to take action. When you encounter these leaders and you talk to people and stuff, and you are inspiring, because this conversation is about that, and I feel like just I am elevated because this is just brilliant conversation in my mind. I hope everybody else is with me. It would be stupid if I was the only one. No, because and then you do your stuff, you do your thing, and then you get out. Do people continue or are they reliant? Like, do they need Tameka? Like, where is Tameka? We need her back. Like, okay, that's a good thing because then you get more money in your pocket. But that is not the true essence. Like, but how are people? Are they afraid to continue the work? How do they? Like, you create the momentum. They realize something. They get inspired. They get the light bulb, which I but not that light bulb. But
right.
like you know, and then you leave.
Mhm.
What then? Do you hear from them again after 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, and they say, Tameka, you changed our company. You
Yeah.
changed everything.
Yeah. And that, okay. So, One thing that I do, I consider myself, first of all, I don't like the term motivational because you can't really motivate
Yeah,
someone else.
yeah.
Motivation comes from within. So I like to refer to myself as transformational because that's what I help people do. Get from one side of the street to the other side of the street where you don't need me again. So
Yeah.
the goal is for you not to need me, because how can I say that I am helping you transform if you need to rely on me? So my purpose and my goal is to help create systems and methods that rely on principles, not on me. Because a principle, as long as you use the principle, it will work for you. So that is what I teach. I teach principles that works as long as you work them. So no, they don't have to rely on me, but they definitely say you changed our entire being. The office would not be the same without you.
But you, so I surely on your business cards on the backside it says, "I would love to come back, but I like, I really liked your money, but you have to do your something yourself." Because that
Yeah.
isn't it that what we do with our kids? Like we do our best, and then at some point we have to let go. We
Yeah.
have to push them out and just like, well, now it's your turn. I
Yeah.
can't be there forever. I will eventually like go somewhere else where there are no phones or stuff, so you can't communicate with me. But now as we finish off, because Rich Gasson, he is like, as I mentioned, he is just one of my heroes because I talked to him many years ago, many moons ago, and he says my joy is removing barriers for others so they can be their best selves at work and elsewhere. Creating possibilities for greatness is my super objective. Great words from a great guy and a great
Yeah.
friend.
And so I would follow up and ask Rich, how do you do that? What do you do to
Yeah,
create possibilities for greatness
yeah.
for people?
But I know him. He could write a like 20-page sentence, like or like. But we don't have time because we are finishing. So you have to, Rich. Please just find Tameka on LinkedIn, and you could really connect. I should. I think you would be great match. But Tameka, I can't like I have to. You have this beautiful quote from the great Maya Angelou, and
Yes.
where she says, "People may forget what you said and even what you did, but they will never forget how you made them feel."
Yes.
And to honor that, you have made me feel you just like inspired, and I hope that my peeps out there, they are inspired and like live, laugh, love is something that you have to be. And as I say, be curious, be interested, be inspired. And because I have said this 1,000 times, my parents, they were always, "Why are you so curious? Stop that." I was like, and if they could see me now, I am talking about inspiring stuff, and I'm so curious that people are sometimes, "Why are you like?" Because I'm interested. I want to know. I want to know what makes you a person. Why are you ticking? Like what what makes you you, isn't it?
Hmm.
So just to finish off, because the next inspiring conversation will be in a week's time, and I am lining up a great conversation then. Uh, you can find both me and Tameka on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, isn't it?
Hmm.
So I won't say like we have to, and then you have funcoachtamika.com, not to mention your itbook.com. Oh, you have so many things that I have to talk about. It's just like, God dang, God dang. Well, I really, I like this just you're it. It's just, and the fact that there's a chess and it has that this red pawn And how are you going to compete? And like, how are you going to be in? Because we are all different, and it just thank you so very, very, very much, Tameka, because this is just this has been a really inspiring conversation,
Thank you.
and
Thank you for having me.
yeah, and I hope that you have had fun because we have been laughing.
Yeah, I have fun. Thank you so much for having me. And I thanks everyone so much for playing along in the chats. So
Yes, thank you very much.